Time now for Sid Six-Zero. This is where you get 60 seconds to talk about anything. Thank you. At the end of the day, the Toronto Blue Jays, I hate to say it, didn't deserve to make the playoffs. The numbers never added up, especially in September. At one point, in the most important month of the season, they were 5 games back of the second wild card. You can't do that. They lost 15 games by a run this season. 15. If one of those turns into a win, they're in a tiebreaker tonight or tomorrow. If 2 of those turn into wins, they own the second wild card. They dug themselves too deep a hole. So with all due respect to the Blue Jay fan who felt the Jays deserved this, I've unfortunately got news for you. They didn't. Because baseball is all about the numbers, and the numbers never lie. Emotionally, I will always remember this Blue Jays team for a wide variety of reasons. They played in 3 different homes, Vladdy's season, Marcus Semien, Robbie Ray, George Springer. What a ride. But the ride is over. Because last time I checked, if you don't win enough, things end, especially in sports. Arden Zwelling of Sportsnet has been kind enough to join us. What a weekend that was, Arden. It is great to see you. We're going to have a lot of conversations about what's to come with this team, Arden. Let's kind of revisit what we just saw. Where did it get away from the Jays, in your opinion, especially in September? What went wrong?
Well, in September, not a lot went wrong. I think you're right. I think it was much earlier in the season when things went wrong. It was, as you identified, it was through May and June when there were a lot of winnable games that were dropped. 12 games the Blue Jays were leading in the 7th inning or later that they lost. And that points to the bullpen, and that points to not addressing that soon enough. Adam Simber went a long way to addressing that. Trevor Richards did as well, but they didn't show up until it was too late, unfortunately. And then I also look at not being able to backfill for injuries to George Springer and Kirby Yates, not quite having enough depth. And then I think the 3 homes, that's something that we didn't talk about enough, and it's intangible. It's hard to point to stats with that, but I really do think it had a massive impact on this team living out of suitcases for as long as they did.
When you look at the record between Dunedin, Buffalo, and Rogers Center, the record at Rogers Center is just staggering. I mean, I think, again, maybe it was the juice of finally coming home and having that feeling, but I mean, I think you look at the numbers and say, if they played a whole season at Rogers Center, who knows what would have happened. Charlie Montoyo, you've spoken to Charlie a lot more than I have. From the outside looking in, it is, some people get tired of the sunshine and rainbows all the time, but that's kind of who he is as a person and a manager, and it's helped this team a lot. But there are others who don't think he can get them there. And by there, ALCS there. Now, John Gibbons had that stigma for a long time as well until he got there. He signed for next season. What does this offseason have in store for Charlie Montoyo? Is it status quo for the Jays, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's back next year. I think this front office believes in him. And you're right. He is a very optimistic person. He's eternally optimistic. But that's what this team needed this year, going through the adversity that they went through and a lot of the tough times that they had, as I mentioned before. I don't think they needed somebody to be dour and depressed and down and cynical about it. I think they needed somebody to put a positive spin on it and to keep things moving forward and to keep looking towards better days ahead. The role of an MLB manager, it's interesting. We only see maybe 5 to 10% of it on TV every night. We only see the bullpen decisions, and we only see how he kind of explains his in-game decision-making after the game, but we don't see what happens in the clubhouse. So we don't see what happens in communicating with the front office and with the training staff and with all the people that managers have to deal with these days. So when it comes to everything that Charlie Montoyo does in his job, I haven't seen any reason to believe the Blue Jays are dissatisfied with his performance.
Arden, we're going to have a lot more conversations about the offseason to come. But before we go here, we've got about 20 seconds. On a scale of 1 to 10, how active will the Jays offseason be, do you think?
I think probably a 7 or 8. I think it's going to be pretty high because they've got big holes to fill. If you're going to lose Robbie Ray and Marcus Semien, I mean, you are losing the probable Cy Young winner and an MVP candidate. Those are massive. This team hasn't had a third baseman since Josh Donaldson left. That's another big hole that really needs to be addressed. And then the bullpen. As we've said, the Blue Jays need to enter 2022 with a much better bullpen. So I really do expect the Blue Jays to do quite a bit this winter.
Could the third baseman they get be Josh Donaldson? Probably not. It ended poorly with this front office, but he seems to be interested anyway. We'll continue. Arden, tremendous season. You and all the Sportsnet writers, you're phenomenal. You're some of the best in the business. Have a good day, man. Appreciate you.
Sid, thank you.
Arden Zwelling of Sportsnet. He is fantastic. Check his stuff out at sportsnet.ca. And as he alluded to, there's going to be a lot to write about maybe over the coming months. Let's continue the Jays conversation, shall we? He was crushing. They were so close to playing another game. What's your favorite memory this season? Let's stay positive here. 1-866-267-3797. Feedback at breakfasttelevision.ca, at Breakfast TV on Twitter, 24/7. It's a Monday. Good to see you. 6:44 in the morning. You're watching BT.